Okay, so we all know that trying is not cool, right? That's just common knowledge. Putting an effort into anything that you do is not cool. You got to be nonchalant and kind of minimalist at all times. I fully disagree with that. I love effort, but as a whole, people don't think that effort is cool. I feel like that's slowly changing, but for the most part, well, yeah, effort is not cool. However, there's still like a few handful of people that kind of see that reality of effort not being cool, and then they put an effort to the things they do anyways. A lot of like more underground musical artists are like this, where they'll put themselves fully into their work, and that should be applauded. But I feel like there's just a lot of hate comments under their pages or whatever online, and really, it's never been easier to be a hater than right now because, well, the internet, right? It's so easy to just say something and just have it out there. That's not like new information. I mean, people have been trolling on the internet for a couple decades at this point. But do you ever think about how a lot of slang words nowadays or newer slang words are just ways to tear people down? Like, let's see, LARP or chopped or mid or buns or whatever, you know? Uh, those are all ways to tear people down for putting in effort instead of not doing that. And look, putting in effort makes you stand out, especially now when that's the what's how do you say it? Exception to the rule, right? If most people aren't putting in effort, it makes you unique that you are. And being different, being unique, it makes you stand out. And if you stand out, it's a lot easier to critique that and hate on that. You don't really get as much hate if you fit in. I think that's a pretty basic concept to understand. But even so, there's still people out there, just a handful of people, right? That they would say, I'd rather live the way I do, put in the effort into the things I do. I'd rather live my way, or I'd rather die. And they're not exaggerating when they say that. I would probably consider myself as one of those people. Like, I'm not exaggerating when I say if I had to work an office job, 9 to 5, in a job that I don't like, that's the main thing, that I don't like, I'm living a life that I don't like, I'd rather die. And I'm being 100% serious. And look, I don't want to die. I want to live the life that I want to live, and I'm very grateful and privileged that I can. But for me, and I'm sure a lot of other people in this handful that I keep referring to, it's hard. It's not glamorous. It really isn't. See, I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I write, release, perform my own music, and I want that to be my career. And I've been at it for maybe 5 years at this point, and it's only now, like this fifth year, that people are like turning their heads and looking over and being like, wait a minute, this guy is an artist. He has something to say. That doesn't mean I'm racking up streams. That doesn't mean that, I'm getting public recognition or whatever. It literally just means that the people I know in my personal life see me as an artist. Just to get to that point took 5 years. And I think that's pretty good actually, all things considered. And so a lot of what I'm saying is relating to my own experience, but I'm sure this is fairly universal in some ways. But a lot of people just can't handle putting themselves into their work and then being completely ignored for years. And so they walk away. That's probably the most logical thing to do. Uh, Again, logic brained thing to do. You know, whenever you meet like a very artsy person, very dedicated to their creative endeavors, they're always a little bit off. Or even if you see like people on a higher platform in videos or interviews or whatever, they're a little bit weird. Part of that could have been there from the start, but I think a lot part of that too is that they've just had to endure with A, being ignored, B, like being trolled on. I don't know which is worse. That might be a dangerous thing to say. I obviously don't want to be ignored, but I obviously don't want to be hated either. And of course, like as a career artist, you gotta have thick skin, right? But to kind of have like rejection thrown at your face for years and years on end, like that's got to affect you in some way. And so I think some of that weirdness from these like genuinely creative people is a result of their environment. And those who are at the most toppest of the top in the world, I'm specifically talking about music, so your biggest artist in the world, I guess in a way they seem a little bit more normal. Because even though they're like still making music as a career, I feel like they had to sell a lot of their ambition to get to that highest level. They had to get rid of that side of themselves that tries and cares a lot, because once again, trying is not cool. But really, when you don't try, you don't make good art. So that's my theory on kind of why the most mainstream of music is like borderline pretty bad. It is, I mean, I don't like it at least. Because, again, it feels like that ambition is just sucked out of it. There's nothing really to latch onto. And I'm not like dogging on pop music. I'm not saying that I hate pop music. I like pop music when it has that little bit of weirdness, that little bit of ambition to it. But I guess back to the people behind uh, the music that's actually ambitious. If a creative risk works out, it has the potential to be even more significant in many ways, financially. I guess I was going to say commercially, but that's kind of the same thing. Culturally, critically, artistically, whatever. That has the potential to reach way higher platforms than anything that's considered quote unquote safe. Even if like the safe, less ambitious types of work generally have like a better return on investment, better chance of just general success, because people like it when creative risks pan out. Audiences like that. But here's the thing: money is always the enemy of creativity, and it's always the enemy of art. I can't do anything about that because money makes the world go round, as they say. But there's always that like mental wrestling, I guess, in people who have found a platform for their innovative creative work between making the stuff that they want to make, but also keeping their financial backing to create in general. And even just thinking about that concept of like, how do I balance this? How do I take creative risks and have them pan out well, but not get too crazy that something I do is just gonna not be received and then I lose my funding? Like, just thinking about that, that's enough to make anyone go insane. And like I said, a lot of people would walk away at that point, but there's those handful of few people that still endure. And then people wonder, it's like, well, how do they say all this crazy stuff that they're saying? I'm not saying they should say all that crazy stuff that they're saying. I'm thinking like, I don't know, Nicki Minaj or Kanye or whatever. I will never defend what they say, but it makes sense on how they went down that path. And once again, I can't like condone anything that they say, but could it have been different? I don't know. Alright, switching topics a little bit, but I said I was a musician, right? And I've been at it for 5 years. I'm on a pretty good path, I'd say. And I have no plans of ever not doing music in my life. That being said, I could totally see a timeline where at some point in this 5 years I just walked away and got a normal job. Would I have regretted it? Maybe. Maybe not. But I think I kind of just chose hard mode on life, and I'm like, bring it on. Because look, I've written two, technically three albums. I don't really count the first one. I've written two whole albums worth of music that I thought was really, really good. I still am very proud of it. I still think it's very good. Right? Like, multiple years of my life have been poured into this work, and nothing. I mean, I'm grateful for the people who did listen to it, but when people complain like, oh man, my album only got 10,000 streams, I wish my album got 10,000 streams. So yeah, I mean, again, a normal person probably would have walked away at that point. You know, hey, I created two albums worth of work and nothing. And again, in a different timeline, that could have been me. But that's not this timeline, so I guess I'm just going to keep at it. And if anyone out there is also having creative ambitions, or just ambitions in life in general, man, stick with it, because, well, you haven't even reached the good part yet, and it's going to get better. So I have hope, I believe, and I think that's all I got.
Peace.